government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Good evening, everyone. Chris McDonald, Mac Files, on a Wednesday night, September the 28th, 2016. So glad to have you on this Wednesday night, a little bit earlier than the evening than we did it last night for sure. We got a little late start tonight again due to some technical issues. And boy, I tell you, this live TV stuff is beginning to get a challenge sometimes. But we're glad you finally joined us and we're on the air. It's so good to have you tonight on another Mac Files broadcast, and a little late in the evening, but again, glad to have you on this Wednesday night. We are just 42 days, if you can believe it, to the next election of our next president of 2016, and that will either be Donald J. Trump or Hillary Clinton. And a lot of things went on in the last few days since the debate Monday night. We're going to talk about a few of those tonight. We're going to be talking about a few other little minor matters as well. And we will get right to it here in a minute. But again, we want to just say thank you. We want to remind you, in the morning at 8 o'clock on WCXZ AM radio 74, WCXZ74AM.com, we will be on with our friend Tom Amos, who is a very famous man. He is not Amos, as he tells me. He's not Amos in the morning. He's Amos in the morning. And we will be on with him between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And we sure hope that you have the chance to join in with us and listen to this live broadcast. We'll have that uploaded here on our YouTube channel sometime tomorrow afternoon as well. And we just hope that you have the chance to tune in and listen to us. It's going to be a good discussion about the debate Monday night and some other things and what's ahead. Some of the things we're going to cover tonight probably we'll be talking about in the morning on the radio. But that's coming up. And again, that time frame is coming in from 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time till about 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and that will be that. But we're so good to have you tonight, and as I said, we're sort of getting our bearings together here a little bit this evening. We've had a power outage in our area, and some of that just sort of threw our broadcast into smithereens, and we had to reboot and get a few technical things fixed, but we do now. And we're back going at it. Just want to talk about a few things we sort of talked about last night late. If you didn't get our broadcast earlier in the day, I suggest you get it. It's a good read. It's a good good discussion. We basically last night we listed 5 things that we felt like 5 takeaways from this debate that happened between Hillary and Donald. And I've been listening to the pundits again today and the media, and they are struggling so hard to give Donald any credit for this debate on debate points, on debate structure, all these elitist newscasters and all these elite networks. They've all said basically Hillary, beat him. And, folks, in the broader sense of things and the real technical debate points as far as debates of history, she may have. I don't know. She came across to me as very smug and elitist and arrogant. And I think in a broader sense, I think the American people took away from this that, yes, she may have won, quote unquote, the debate points and the debate style. But people looked at her Monday night and that attitude and some of the things that were coming out of her mouth were far scarier than anything that Donald Trump did. And but what has really eaten at me since the Monday night debate, and still is eating at me tonight, and I'm going to really talk about it in the morning, is this moderator, Lester Holt, and the way that the whole thing went down with some of the questions that he directed at Trump compared to her. He basically asked nothing of her about Benghazi, asked nothing of her about the email scandal, which is ongoing even today. The FBI head, James Comey, was on Capitol Hill again today, and it was so funny to read his quote. He said, "You can call us dishonest, just don't call us weasels." And I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what you people are. You let her weasel off the hook. You had every reason, every right, every legality, every grounds, every type of reason to indict her, and yet they didn't. And that's being a weasel. Absolutely is being a weasel. And I just think the FBI shamed itself and disgraced itself, and that the organization, if we can't trust our justice system to give justice to everybody equally, we've got no justice system, folks. And we really don't right now, and it's sad. And the people that are screaming the most about how that we don't have justice for, say, the African American community as we should, are the very same people that are breaking the law, and they don't have any justice given to them either. So it's really a warped thing to think about, and it's just mind-boggling to see what we have degenerated to in this country. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. There's just so much to cover sometimes. I wish we had 16 hours to go over every single thing we'd like to talk about on these podcasts. We're going to get to them eventually. We're going to keep doing these right up to the election time, and probably after the election. I've been giving this a lot of thought. I've really enjoyed doing these, and as long as the comments are coming in that people enjoy listening to them, we're going to keep doing them. And we do want to thank you that are out there that give us those comments and encourage us, and you give us your feedback, and you tell us some things that you don't like, some things you do like, some things you love, some things you don't. We're listening to all of it. We're trying to improve these broadcasts every day, every week. And we just, as I said, we got us a new broadcast system here now that we can add media clips and videos and things. The only thing we can't do, we can't record and go live at the same time like we used to, and we may revert back to Ustream a time or two to go live, but we'll have to play those by ear when we just want to talk, and we don't need clips and all to do it. That's what we'll do with them. But that's technical stuff, and don't want to waste time getting to what we really came here to talk about tonight. I'm going to switch screens on you, and I'm going to come over here. There I am. And hello again. This is the Mac Files for a Wednesday night, September the 28th. And I want to start with something that came out just a few days ago. And I'm going to talk about the media tonight a lot. One of the takes that I gave 5 takes last night, or late last night, actually, in the wee hours of this morning. And one of the very first things I discussed about the debate is that the moderator, when we have moderators in these debates, these moderators are not called to debate the candidates themselves. They're called to be a referee and to ask the questions and to shut their mouth. And Lester Holt did none of that. And I heard somebody call NBC today the Nobody But Clinton Network, and that's the truth. And the CNN is the Clinton News Network. And there are rumors out today that Lester Holt is actually inquiring about becoming Hillary Clinton's press secretary if she gets elected. And there was rumors out today that he may have been actually doing what he did to give her a heads up that he can do the job. I mean, that's how sordid and disgustingly crooked that this media has become against Donald Trump. And the other thing that was out late this evening, and I don't have time to pull the video, I will for tomorrow, there's a possibility that they were giving hand signals to each other, that she was doing something with her nose or something on her chin to give him a heads up or a signal to jump in and stop the flow of what Trump was saying, to give her that momentum and let her put her zingers in. And folks, she had some zingers. They were arrogant and smug, but she said some pretty nasty things to Donald Trump on that stage. And again, all night long he held back really from being really nasty to her, calling her Crooked Hillary. He never addressed her that way. He always addressed her Secretary Clinton, showed a lot of respect. She called him a racist. She called him a crook. She called him a sexist, and basically just laid into him with all these titles. And we're going to get to one of these situations that came up at the debate Monday night, because it's just going to show you how crooked the media is, and also how stupid the media is for putting their eggs in this basket, because this quote-unquote Miss Universe that won the pageant back in 1996, comes to find out today she threatened a judge back in the late 90s, and her family was under a criminal investigation, and she issued a threat to a judge over his life. And, this is the kind of individual that the Democratic Party's holding up tonight as the standard bearer of Donald Trump's sexist attitude. But we're going to show you a few clips tonight, and we're going to show you a few statements from people that in Bill Clinton's past that may disagree with the statement that the one that was sexist on the stage was Donald Trump. And maybe the one on the other side in the pantsuit or whatever she was wearing has had more of a history of making sexist and absolute deplorable comments to women than Donald Trump could ever have said in his life. And but I want to talk about Lester Holt first. I'll get to Mrs. Clinton's women issue in just a second. And tomorrow I will just give you a heads up. We're going to talk tomorrow about the implicit bias case. We've been wanting to do this for so long, but we're going to talk tomorrow hopefully about the police and the disparaging comments, the disparaging comments that Clinton had about the police, but also about the disparity in the numbers of shootings that, we're hearing this narrative that white police officers and police officers in general are hunting down black people, and we're going to try to talk about that tomorrow and tie it in with the part of the debate that got on law and order, security, and things of that nature. And we're going to deal a lot with the emails tomorrow because, again, one of the first questions that Lester asked Donald Trump about was cybersecurity. And for Hillary Clinton to answer a question with a straight face about cybersecurity would be like Michael Moore answering a question about weight loss or Rosie O'Donnell. And yeah, I said it. And, and it's just ridiculously stupid and so hypocritical what's being done right now. And look, folks, the media is trying so hard in the last 48 hours to convince you and me that Hillary cleaned the floor with him. Every website I've went on today, every one of those websites has said very little positive thing about Trump. And the pundits are twisting this even more, and some of them saying that he's lost his footing, he's lost his momentum, he's lost all this. Folks, I just saw him at a Florida event, and there had to have been at least 10 to 12,000 people at this man's rallies. She can't even fill a freaking front row without bringing Bernie Sanders in, who's a communist, and getting all these young people out to listen to him. They don't come out to listen to her, they're coming out to listen to Bernie. And, Bernie is nothing but a communist. So, if I'm the Democratic Party and they want to play this game, let them play it. But I have to tell you, I don't think the American people are buying it this time. I think a lot of these polls, a lot of these things are coming out, are showing that there was a momentum thing. And the Fox News today, one of the Fox News executives said something that I totally disagree with and I take issue with. And I'm showing it to you right over here. On my screen, this is basically a snapshot of 7 polls that came out, actually 8, 9, 10 polls that came out right after the debate Monday night, and I can't bring this up big enough to show you the percentages. I'm going to try here, and I'm going to make myself smaller, which is probably not a bad idea to do and get me out of the way here. But I want you to look at some of this, and I want you to look at the names of these polls. That's as big as I can get it, and I wish I could get it larger. Time, CNBC, Fortune, Fox 5, Breitbart, Drudge Report, Patch, Syracuse.com, Heavy, and Polita Opinion, and The Hill. Not one of these polls, folks, not one, says that Hillary Clinton won that debate Monday night. Fox News gets on there today and their arrogant, elitist self. And folks, listen, I've lost a lot of respect for Fox over this last year. I really have. I used to, and I guess maybe it was wrong for me to do this, and I know we're all guilty of this. I was truly, I had these rose-colored glasses on about this network, that it was fair and balanced and unafraid. And, and certainly there were some commentators on there that I listened to more than others, but I trusted their news service. I trusted the news from them because I didn't feel like they were trying to slant the news one way or the other. Yes, they were more conservative-leaning than CNN, but they were trying to be fair. Fox had far more liberal commentators, far more liberal people on their network to counteract the conservative talk than you would ever find a conservative being on a network like CNN or CNBC or MSNBC. But I'm pulling these polls up to let you know tonight, folks. Donald Trump in these polls, these were taken hours after, and maybe within a 24-hour period after the presidential debate, and every one of these showed him beating her by more than 20%. There was a few closer than others. But I'm just looking at this as a snapshot. The time poll there, since you can't read it, it's 58-41, CNBC 51-31, Donald Trump 56-44. Trump on this Fox News poll, it was basically 61-39. Breitbart, of course, Breitbart is a right-wing leaning website, and as to be expected, Donald Trump won like 80% of that. The Drudge Report, he won almost 80% of the vote. Patch, he won about 85% of the vote. But this Syracuse.com poll, folks, Syracuse is in the upstate of New York, and let's be frank with each other, that is not conservative territory in upstate New York. And even on the Syracuse website, he beat her like a 56-42 margin, and only 2% saying they're not sure. Heavy, which is another liberal-leaning poll, he was trounced her like 68-32. Polita opinion was 95-5. I mean, it was crazy. But this Hill report, when they came out, it says that he beat her 65-35. And all of these polls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 polls, 10 flash polls. CNBC, and it's the one that's not on here is CBS. He won that one 58-32. My question to Fox News, because their statement today was these flash polls were online polls, they don't mean a thing. The only polls that matter is when they go out and sample human beings in real time and they talk to them and they get their intake as to who won the debate. But look, folks, the thing about that is, yes, there is certain slants in these polls, but not in these liberal places. There can't be. I mean, there's not liberality in these liberal states, and these polls like Syracuse.com, heavy. The Hill is certainly not a conservative-leaning thing. You know, I'll give them their argument about Breitbart and Drudge. Drudge are conservative websites. There are CNBC, a conservative website, and Trump beats her 61-32. I mean, really? I mean, come on. And for Fox News to denigrate these polls, I think is just wrong. I think what these polls represent, and this is the difference in the polling, when these networks get these people in these rooms and they get these focus groups and they get these elite people, see, they're getting elitists. They're getting people that think they know better than modern and basically normal America out here in the populace. I believe that these online polls are more of a real sampling of how the country's feeling, because people are on the internet interacting every day. And these elitist networks like NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, CNN, all of them, their journalists are elite. They're part of the establishment. There's only a few that are not. And right now, they hate Trump and they hate Hillary to a degree too. They hate both of them. But Hillary, being part of the establishment, is more their darling and their baby than Trump could ever be. Because they look at Trump and they see a threat to their way of life. They know things are going to change when Donald J. Trump takes office in January 2017, which we hope he does. But these polls right here mean something. And when you win 10 polls, and there is not a one of them here that's within 10 points of each other, they're all 20 to 25 points, folks, that's America making a statement, don't you think? That's America making a statement of how they felt and who they felt won. And that is something that I think should be taken into consideration. Another thing I want to show you is this. This is real interesting, and this may explain a lot more than anything that I'm talking about tonight, and this is why the American public is piss poor tired of the media, and this resonates in trust out here in the normal part of the world compared to the elite part of the world, that people that sit in these ivory palaces in New York and sit in their little areas that, you know, they're out of touch with the common American. This poll came out a few days ago. They sampled 1,020 adults. They asked them the question, do you trust the media? Only 8%, folks, 8% say they trust media a great deal, okay? Now, I'll even give them the 24% that says they trust them in a fair amount. That doesn't mean they totally trust them, but they trust the media fairly. That was 24. So we'll give them that 32%. Nearly 68%, 7 out of every 10 people that they talked to said, we don't trust the media. We don't trust them very much. We don't trust them at all. So if the media can keep running their traps, they can keep saying what they want to say, we out here in America, we're not listening to you anymore. We haven't been listening to you for a very long time. And look, I respect, there's a few commentators I want to just bring in. Lou Dobbs, I think he's as fair as can be, straight down the middle. He's a straight shooter. Bill O'Reilly, for the most part, is. I think that sometimes Bill wants to try to be so fair and balanced that he doesn't really see the facts, and he tries to do everything he can. And sometimes I agree with his talking points, sometimes I don't. But he at least tries to be fair. And I'm not against Bill. I like Bill. I watch his show. It's one of the few I watch on Fox and Hannity. Megyn Kelly, don't have no Trump for her. Don't have no reason to even tune her in. Judge Jeanine Pirro that comes on Saturday nights, love her to death. Straight shooter down the middle. She leans conservative. Yes, she leans more toward Trump. She's Trump's friend, but she stays fair. She tries to stay balanced. And there's just a very few. It used to be Glenn Beck. You could say the same thing about him. Glenn's gone off the deep blue end. He don't even, he thinks Trump's the Antichrist. And, my question to all these people that are so bashing Donald Trump tonight that's in the media, I ask you a question. Where do you think the 70% of people out here in modern America, in normal America, in the heartland, where do you think their allegiances lie right now? I think this right here is a telltale sign why Hillary is not gaining traction in these polls. Because no matter what they throw at Trump, no matter what they say about Trump, no matter what they make up about Trump, people are just not listening anymore. And we're not listening anymore, and we're not going to listen anymore. And folks, that is the reason why you've got the situation you do in the polls tonight, with them being basically tied. And when she famously got on television a few days ago and screamed into the camera, why am I not up 50% points on him? Look at this poll right here. I'll tell you why she's not up 50%. Because people like Lester Holt that skewed that debate Monday night, and all these other network people, when they do what they do and they show outrageous bias, it turns the American people off and it pushes them to Trump. It pushes them to the outsider, where they say, he's got an unfair advantage, and we're not going to let them get away with this. And look, I'm just showing you the poll right here. 8% say they have a great deal of faith in the media. Only 24% they say they have a fair amount. That's only 32%, folks. 7 out of 10 Americans do not trust anything coming from the mass media, the mainstream media. Call them what you want to call it. And this was a poll, again, taken by Gallup about 2 weeks ago. And this poll, I think, underscores what's going on in the country tonight. And, again, I think it was highly, 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 highly despicable, some of the things that Lester Holt did in the debate on Monday night. I want to turn to something else tonight, folks, and one other quick thing. Let me pull this up right here. This is coming out today. This is the Real Clear Politics average in a national poll right now. This is the daily tracking poll. This is Rasmussen. Trump leads her right now 43-41, and that's as of September the 27th. That was just taken yesterday. He's up by about 2.5 points nationally. That don't mean anything because we don't elect our candidates based upon the popular vote in the country, which I think we should. But right now, he's about up 3 points in this daily tracking. The debate was held Monday, so this was taken yesterday. So at least in this poll, there's not been any shift of any sort to him or for him or against him after his debate performance. All righty. Now, I want to turn to something tonight, and I'm going to close out the broadcast on this, and we're going to, again, we'll deal with other things tomorrow. Another point that I made the other night about this debate, one of the 5 points last night, I keep saying last night, it was this morning. If Donald Trump's record on women is going to be brought into this, and it has been over the last 48 hours, this lady that Hillary mentioned was a transplant. I mean, this is a Democratic hammer that they think is their October surprise for Donald Trump. She wants to bring up something that happened 20 years ago. This happened in 1996, 20 years ago, okay? This was about the time that Bill was going into the White House for the second time. And again, grant you, this was at the same time he was dealing with all his sex scandals. He was 3 years away at this point from impeachment for lying to Congress about testimony that he had given under oath in the Monica Lewinsky situation and the Paula Jones case too. And because it was a lot of things converging on that, but it wasn't about sex. It was about lies under oath, and he got impeached for it, or at least charged with it. He wasn't impeached. The House sort of knocked it down, and they never were able to remove him from office. But it was just a mess. I remember it like it was yesterday. But if the mainstream media wants to continue to go after Donald Trump and his record on women, where are they tonight on Hillary Clinton's record on women? And I want to bring up a few things here. And this is a comment tonight, folks. This is the daughter. This is Chelsea, but this is Clinton. This is Clinton speaks at their best. And I want you to read this with me, and I want you to follow this. Juanita Broderick came out today and basically slammed Bill Clinton, slammed the whole family about their record on women. It goes back to the 1970s. Juanita Broderick's almost 76 years old right now. But this happened when she was working in Arkansas when the Clintons were running the state. And she has alleged for nearly 20 years now, 25 years, that Bill Clinton raped her in the State House. And she was tarred and feathered by Hillary, called every name in the book. And Chelsea weighed in on this today. This was out actually on Twitter tonight. And, Juanita Broderick says that his misdeeds, her daddy's misdeeds, are quote unquote a distraction. But Donald Trump, what he said 20 years ago, is a front page story. We've got 20 minutes that was dedicated to this story this morning on NBC about the beauty contest. Let me tell you how many minutes were dedicated to the fact that 5 Hillary Clinton aides, folks, five, have been granted immunity from prosecution testifying to the FBI about her emails, including her top aide and lawyer, Cheryl Mills. Guess how much time was dedicated on NBC to that this morning? You guessed it, zilch, none, nothing, wasn't even mentioned. But they gave this story about this beauty queen 20 minutes. And then we have Juanita Broderick coming to the front tonight and saying that the Clintons are horrible people, that what Bill did was despicable and Hillary covered it up. She lied for him, and she went after Juanita, threatening her with blackmail and a host of other things. And then Chelsea weighs in today and says what my dad did and his misdeeds are just a distraction. Just a distraction. And Donald Trump showing great restraint and class Monday night and not going after them. At the moment he did it, I said, that's probably the best thing to do. He showed himself to be a bigger man. But he has promised today that since they have taken these gloves off and they've entered into this arena and they want to go lowball on him, all bets are off, and these things are going to come out. These things are coming. There's a generation of people who don't even know who this lady is, Juanita Broderick, that I'm showing you on my screen. They don't even know who she is. They don't even know who Paula Jones is. They don't know the Monica Lewinsky story. They don't know the scandals that people my age and most of us that are older in their 40s and 30s, 40s, 50s, we lived through these in the 1990s. We lived through 8 years of this sordid mess. And God knows we're already living through other scandals, and she's not even in the White House yet if she gets elected. But that's what Chelsea said today about Juanita Broderick. And then there was this today that came out. This was the most hilarious thing of the day to me. And this came in late this evening. I was working on, here's a tweet. Let me give you Kelly Conway's tweet, his campaign manager. And she was absolutely right about this. And I want you to read this. This is pretty funny. And again, it speaks to the bias in the media. She said, this is actually remarkable. Nearly 20 minutes on Trump's remarks, but complete silence on Clinton's chief of staff's immunity issue. So the networks, none of them, ABC, CBS, NBC, they totally ignore that. But they're leading tonight with their coverage of this right here. About what Trump said 20 years ago, folks. It's not something he said yesterday, last week, last month. It's something he said 20 years ago. And so, again, they're trying to protect her. Then I want to go to another situation because this one is hilariously funny, too, what happened today. This is what Donald Trump had to say about it tonight on O'Reilly, and I don't have the video clip, but he said this is a person that did not do well. She had a lot of difficulties, and they wanted to fire her. And a lot of his comments that were directed to her back then had to do with her handling of the Miss Universe pageant and her obligations that she did not fulfill. And I'm certainly sure Mr. Trump got probably a little angry and said some things. And the media is wanting to hold him accountable for stuff that was said 20 years ago to show a pattern of sort of, this pattern that, he's sexist and whatever. And then again, here we have the loving couple, Bill and Hillary. Ain't they so sweet? Tomorrow morning in the Washington Post, there's going to be a story out about Bill and Hillary. And there is going to be one of the people that were involved in this. I don't know who they're interviewing. It may be Juanita Broderick. I'm not sure. But she is going to come out and deal with the fact that Hillary has been an enabler of this all these years for Bill's indiscretions. But yet Hillary can get on that stage Monday night and in a straight face look at Donald Trump and start using these attacks, these personal digs, and calling him sexist and racist and a whole list of things. But yet this right here that you're seeing to my left of me on this screen is being ignored. Totally being ignored. And it's just sickening. And then this came out again tonight. Let me bring this down a little bit. I want to take that off and take this off. Give me a minute here. Again, we are trying. There we go, right there. This is what I want. This came out tonight. Juanita Broderick. That's Juanita right there, sweet lady. And this is what she basically said. She said, your father was, and probably still is, a sexual predator. She wrote this on her Twitter account tonight. Your mother has always lied and covered up for him. And that's what led Chelsea then to come out with her little quote and say, Juanita, you don't know what you're talking about because all you're doing is creating a distraction for our family. And that's what Chelsea said right here. And I'm going to bring this back up. I'm going to put these side by side and get Miss Kelly out of the way. She did a good job there. Give me a minute here. But I want you to look at this, folks. I want you to look at this contrast right here. I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this. All right? Now, they're slamming Trump tonight. They are slamming Trump like there's no tomorrow about comments he made 20 years ago. Was he right to say what he said about the woman? Probably not. Probably not. It was probably some nasty things. But see, the media, when they do these things and they bring these things out in public, they want people to be disgusted at Trump. But my question tonight, as I close this segment of the Mac Files on this Wednesday night, my question to this media that I've showed you through polls, 70% of the nation don't even trust. We don't care anymore what they're listening to and saying. But my question to these jackasses that are doing this in the media is, if you're trying to make people be disgusted with Trump about something he said 20 years ago, why are you not reporting tonight on what is being said today on Twitter from their daughter as a rape victim is saying Bill has covered it up, Hillary's covered it up, they've lied about this for nearly 30 years, and Chelsea calls it a distraction? Where is your disgust for that? I know where it's at. It's nowhere to be found. And it won't be anywhere to be found, because you will continue to run Trump's commercials and run this lady and run her out there all day over the next campaign. She got on television today and thanked Hillary Clinton for standing up for women. Yes, ma'am. I'm sure she did. She stood up for Jennifer Flowers. She stood up for Paula Jones. She stood up for Monica Lewinsky. She stood up for Juanita Broderick. She stood up for Kathleen Wiley. She stood up for a list of women that go back from here to Texas, that if you just Google Bill Clinton sex affairs, you got about 16 pages of women and rapes and affairs and God knows what else that has probably never been reported. State troopers reporting things. But Hillary Clinton, we salute you, baby. You've stood up for women's rights. You've stood up. You've accepted money from Arab nations that rape and murder women like there's no tomorrow and treat them like disgusting things and say things about them, put them in a subservient position. You take money from countries that have no conscience of doing that. In fact, let me show you how much money she's taken from those countries. Let me get these other things off, and then we're going to close this out tonight. But I want to bring this into this right here, and we're going to wrap it up, and then we'll talk about this more tomorrow. These are the list of countries, folks, that she's accepted money from for her foundation. Saudi Arabia, Muslim country. Kuwait, Muslim. United Arab Emirates, Muslim. State of Qatar, Muslim. Oman, Muslim. Bahrain, Muslim. Algeria, Muslim. And the list goes on. Probably 60%, 70% of those countries that you see on that list right there are Muslim nations who treat women with no respect, and they encourage the husbands to degrade them, to beat them, to rape them, to humiliate them in public. They live in subservience and silence. But Hillary, we thank you. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts out here in deplorable land for you standing up for these women. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure the women out there that are listening to this podcast, they appreciate it too. And I ask you tonight as I leave this podcast, I had a friend of mine today, and they heard the comments that were said over television. And they said this, they said they felt a sort of a twinge in their being. They felt sort of awkward listening to it. And they said, you know, I'm still going to vote for Trump, but it made me feel uneasy to hear the things that he was saying about this Miss Universe contestant. Folks, that is why they run this stuff, is to put these thoughts in your mind. But my question tonight is this: where are the stories being told about this and the Clintons? Where is stories about Hillary and her treatment of women and her sexist attitude and her elitist and her deplorable actions, pardon the pun, for women that have actually been assaulted and insulted by her husband and abused and raped in some cases? And then she sits there and takes money from these countries that basically treat women worse than anything on the bottom of anybody's shoe on a summer day. Because Hillary Clinton don't care, and she knows good and well she can do whatever she wants to do, and the media will never, ever report it. But I say it again, folks. If what Donald Trump is saying about women is fair game, then what she has done and said about women is fair game too. And my advice to Donald Trump for October the 9th, don't be a gentleman this time. Give her hell and unleash the gates of hell upon her in that debate. She's brought this on. Bring it on yourself. I don't think most people out here that watch that debate Monday night will blame you on October the 9th. This one won't. I can tell you that. And at this point, I think that he's going to have to fight fire with fire, because she's out there gloating that she really hit a home run for the women Monday night. But she's not hit any home runs, folks. Hillary has done nothing but trash women, call them whores, call them trash. She called Juanita Broderick when these rape allegations came forth. There were things on the internet through the years that it was white trailer trash. You know, you remember the morning back in 1998 when she sat on Mount Lyra's sofa and she claimed that this was some right-wing conspiracy? You remember that? You remember that interview? You know what she was talking about that morning? She was talking about these allegations that were coming from Paula Jones and Jennifer Flowers and Catherine Wiley and Juanita Broderick. She was claiming that all this was made up. All this was made up by the right-wingers to get her husband out of office. That's how she feels about women and about America. And I guess it was about 2 years ago when the Bill Cosby sex scandal, she made this big deal about everybody who has been sexually abused, everybody who has been sexually harassed, everybody who has been exposed to sexual predatorism must come forward and must have a voice. Well, Hillary, where has been the reaction to you of the voices of the women who your husband has been a sexual predator to? It has been zero and silent. It has been zero and silent. If his comments about women are going to be held to account, her comments about women need to be held in account too. She needs to be held in account while she's taking money from nations that treat women so deplorable, so horrible, so wicked that it beggars description. But she'll never be by the mainstream media. And I ask you a question tonight as I leave you. Is this the kind of person that we want running our country coming up in November? I know that some of you out there, I've talked to you, and I say this often, I'm coming back here to my first
The government of the people.
Alrighty, I
by
hear you.
the
Hang
people,
on just a second.
for
They want to interrupt me all the time when I come back to my screens. Folks, listen to me as I close tonight. And I mean this. I mean this very sincerely. I know a lot of you out there have doubts about Trump. I'm not saying Trump's our savior. I'm going to say something as I wrap this up tonight to you, and I've said it the last couple of days, and I'm going to say it again. The people that can change our country are not the two candidates we saw on that stage Monday night. As much as I am excited that I'm voting for Trump, as much as I hate Hillary, I do not look to Donald Trump to be the salvation of this nation. I do not look for Hillary to be the salvation of this nation. She's got these endorsements coming left and right from these turncoat Republicans. John Warner today came out. He always voted with the Democrats anyway. He's half Democrat. And media's making a big deal about that tonight. Arizona Republic, which is John McCain territory, hadn't endorsed a Republican in 126 years, they say. Who cares? Who cares? Endorse her. Endorse your queen, baby. Endorse her. If that's what you want, if that's what you want for the future of your country. I'm talking to some of you tonight that are Trump haters. Go vote for Hillary. Vote for Hillary. Do what you want to do. It don't matter who we elect, folks. It does matter this, though. We, the people, are the key to our nation. We're the ones that will determine the future of this nation, not the politicians, unless we give them the power to. I think as I'm sitting here tonight and I'm thinking this movie that came out several years ago, not several, but about 8 or 9 years ago, with V. And yeah, it came out from Britain. It was a movie. But the premise of that movie is sticking in my head tonight because the premise is the people gave the government so much power during a time of crisis that the government became the enemy. And it took a man to stand up against government tyranny and lead a movement of the people, by the people, for the people, to remove the tyranny. And if we're not careful with our vote in November, we're going to head down the road of tyranny, folks. We're going to head down the road of tyranny. The parallels between us tonight and Nazi Germany, very scary. Very scary. Very scary. Germany devalued life first, right before the rise of Hitler, and he just carried that theory on. They became socialist in their government. They believed the government could take care of the people more than the people could take care of themselves. That too lifted Hitler to power. He was a socialist. That's why Hitler and Stalin hated each other. Socialism, communism, when you look at the two things, they don't really mesh at first, but ultimately they're the same monster. And the rest is sad history. Number 3, Germany was very anti-Semitic. This nation has treated Israel as bad and as anything I've ever seen a nation treat another nation that God has his hand on. In the 8 years of Barack Obama, we have never, ever seen Israel being as mistreated and disrespected and their leaders disrespected. I heard today Josh Earnest on that TV, and it made me want to spit and just cuss. And what he said, we mentioned last night, Shimon Peres dying, the great ambassador for peace, the great warrior of peace is what he was called. I didn't agree with Peres a lot of times trying to give concessions to the Palestinians. I felt like that Israel has always given up too much, because the Palestinians don't want peace, honey. They want control of that whole lot of land over there. They want the whole thing. And that's another broadcast for another time. But Peres always reached his hand across that table trying to make peace with his enemies. Josh Earnest today, when asked, is President Obama going to the funeral? Josh Earnest looked into that camera and said if he can logistically figure it out how to do it. Barack Obama didn't go to Margaret Thatcher's funeral. Complete, utter, disrespectful thing to do. One of the greatest ladies of Britain's history ever, in the history of nations. But he found freaking time to go to Trayvon Martin's funeral. He didn't find time to go to the slain officers in Chattanooga, those soldiers. He didn't find time to go to the funeral in Dallas or Baton Rouge. But he finds time to go to the race baiters and the thugs and the criminals. He needs to be at this funeral. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he may work it out logistically. But folks, that's a slap in the face of Israel. We're on the precipice of something majorly bad if we don't change course. But I look into this camera tonight and I say it as a close. The politicians don't have the final say in this nation. You do. You do. And I do. And we better start taking control of this nation and get involved and make sure the people we put in power are going to be a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So help us God. Or there will be no United States of America. And it will be gone, and it will no longer be the land of the free and the home of the brave. And that's the Mac Files for a Wednesday night, September the 28th, 2016. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've had a really busy day. We've done this a little late tonight, but we hope you've enjoyed the conversation. It went a little lengthy, but we've tried to give you a few things to think about. And again, we're just 42 days away from this election. Get out and vote. Vote the candidate of your choice. I'm voting for Donald Trump. I'd love to see you vote for Donald Trump. I know not all of you will. But Donald Trump, I believe, has the vision for this country that we need to go forward. And as long as we've got a podcast going, as long as we've got a voice, we're going to identify the biasness, and we're going to go after the media, and we're going to tell you the truth and the facts of what's going on and give it to you straight as we possibly can. And that's what we're here for. We love you tonight. God bless. Godspeed. God bless America. And we're so happy that you took your time to be with us tonight, and we hope to see you again next week. Or not next week. What am I talking about? Tomorrow. I'm trying to get my podcast to work here again, folks. It's live TV. Excuse us here. There we go. You know, it's been a great day today, and I hope you've had a good time with us tonight. And as we say goodnight, we've been playing Lee Greenwood's song for the last few nights. God bless the USA, and do we ever need His blessing tonight? And we hope that you will say a prayer for our nation, say a prayer for us. We're going to say a prayer for you. Godspeed. Good night, America. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, right here on the Mac Files. You have a great evening. Godspeed. Be safe. God bless.